morning, ladies and gentlemen. Please remember that at this stage of the case, the opening statements are designed to help you follow the evidence and follow the real issues of the case. I've been practicing criminal law for a long time. Started as a DA and self-defense lawyer for a long time, as Mr. Casey. And I will tell you, this is probably one of the more unusual opening statements I'll ever make. Because we agree with most of the people's case. We agree that our client, Jason King, was the sole cause of this accident. He was the sole cause of the death and the injuries. We agree that Madison Cornwall was driving 100% appropriately, 100% sober. Those are stipulated facts in our mind, but you'll hear evidence about it. So there'll be a number of witnesses. This is unusual also, but we're not going to even cross-examine. For instance, the coroner's going to come in and testify to a cause of death, multiple blunt force trauma. We have no issue with that. We have no issue with the medical testimony concerning the 3 young people that did survive. So what are the issues in this case? Our client is guilty of manslaughter. He's guilty of driving under the influence with injury. He's guilty of the enhancements of causing great bodily injury. So where are the issues? What is the issue here? And this is what we want you to keep your eye on. The issue here is the prosecution wants you to convict Mr. King of 2 counts of murder. That is where the issue is in this case. Period. Murder, there will be a lot of jury instructions on it, but the key issue in murder is an implied malice murder, and it requires the jury to believe that a defendant acted deliberately with a conscious disregard for life. Acted deliberately with a conscious disregard for life. Now, how do you prove that? When we picked this jury, I think everybody agreed that drinking and driving is dangerous. Everybody agreed that drinking and driving is unlawful and can result in death. And yet, if you got involved in a fatal accident under the influence, you'd be charged with some form of manslaughter, either negligent manslaughter, intoxication involving death.
Objection, Your Honor.
Overruled. Or gross vehicular manslaughter, intoxication involving death. So what makes it murder? What makes it murder is that a given defendant in a given case has acquired specialized knowledge about the real dangers of drinking and driving. Now, let me jump ahead and then I'll come back. The defense is going to call a witness, Arnold Abrams. This is a witness that would be typically called by the prosecution in this type of case. Mr. Abrams runs 3 first offense driving under the influence schools. What happens in California, as in probably every state around the country to some degree, is that if you're convicted of a DUI, you are required to go to an alcohol school. The first offense in this state all the alcohol schools in this state are run through Title IX of the California Code of Regulations, and specifically California Health Services. They set minimum standards for these programs statewide. They approve the instructors, the people that operate the school. And on a first offense, minimum, it's a 12-week program where you're taught the real dangers of drinking and driving, where they emphasize what would happen to you because you're getting the specialized knowledge about how dangerous it is to drink and drive, that if you should happen to get in a DUI accident, killing someone, that it's not gross vehicular manslaughter anymore, it's murder. That's what people have learned. In addition, you'll learn that in the courts of this state, for about the last 10 years or so, whenever someone pleads to a DUI case, a simple DUI case on, you get an advisement. And the advisement says, I acknowledge that I've been convicted of a DUI, this is dangerous conduct. If I continue to drink and drive, and if I kill someone, I can be charged with murder. So defendants are put on notice of that. In addition to that, defendants are most of the time required to go to a Mothers Against Drunk Driving program called MAD, or Victim Impact Panel, where there's a speaker, a series of speakers. One of them usually is a person who is a family member of someone who's been killed or injured by a drunk driver. That's the specialized knowledge that really is required to make it murder. Now, what's the evidence in this case? The Marines stand down, one or two, 300 to 500 people, there's an explanation of drinking and driving. That's it before that night. And the idea behind this is that you learn the dangers of drinking and driving and the high probability you can kill someone. And so when you're sober, before you start to drink, before you become impaired, you know better. You really know better. And that's how it becomes acting deliberately with a conscious disregard for death. The evidence will establish that once you start drinking alcohol, the alcohol impacts you, so you no longer make conscious, rational, good decisions that you made when you're sober. In other words, you think you're fine to drive when you're not, among other things. Our client was in the Marine Corps at the time. We don't expect any benefit or sympathy for that. But we don't expect him to be penalized for that either. The only evidence they have is a Marine stand down before the night this happened. He's from Dion, Oklahoma, a small town in Oklahoma. Doesn't even have a traffic light. About 1,000 people, close to Telequa, if you're familiar with Oklahoma at all. And he's been a Marine here locally for about less than a year before this incident happened. So where this case should center on is his pre-existing knowledge, what he knew before he started drinking that night. And that's why this simply is not a murder case. It is a manslaughter case with causing injury, death. It's a DUI with injury, and he should be convicted of those charges. So, when we start the evidence, Mr. Casey and I are probably going to pass on cross-examining a number of witnesses because they're not the issue in the case. And we're not going to stretch this out unnecessarily. We can make this a lot quicker if we just focus on what the real issue in the